Hello and welcome to my presentation, Graphic Novels in the Classroom. One of the biggest issues in classrooms today is poor reading comprehension. According to a report by Sandra Sosky, average scores on the Grade 12 National Assessment of Educational Progress reading tests were lower in 2009 than in 1992. Also, SAT reading scores in 2011 fell to their lowest level in history at 497. This is an issue that affects in-class reading for all subjects. Being able to understand what is read in any class is an important component of success. Another issue is a lack of interest in reading. According to the National Endowment of the Arts, 15 to 24-year-olds spend only 7 to 10 minutes per day on voluntary reading, about 60% less time than the average American. This is a major issue when you consider the social, civic, and economic benefits of being a good reader. These benefits include being more likely to participate in sports and create artistic works, as well as having a more financially rewarding job. Being a good reader isn't just beneficial to the individual, but to society as a whole. It is these issues that led me to the study of graphic novels in the classroom. In order to fully comprehend the benefits of graphic novels, there are a few terms that need to be defined. The first is graphic novel. According to Williams and Peterson, the definition of a graphic novel has been the subject of some debate. Will Eisner, the American cartoonist who coined the phrase, defines graphic novels as sequential art. Rothschild, the author of Graphic Novels, a bibliographic guide to book-length comics, gives the definition, book-length comic books that are meant to be read as one story. Goldsmith, author of Graphic Novels Now, Building, Managing, and Marketing a Dynamic Collection, defines the genre as storytelling through sequential art. Another term that's important is traditional text. These refer to texts traditionally used in the English classroom. These are novels that consist of text only and use description rather than pictures to give students an idea of setting and physical attributes. Reading comprehension is an individual's ability to comprehend the written word. In a single classroom, there can be a wide range of reading comprehension between students. A struggling reader is a student who, due to some outward variable, is unable to comprehend age-appropriate text. Variables that can lead to struggling include learning disabilities like ADD or dyslexia, being taught in a language that is not the student's first language, or being out of practice with reading strategies. Our last definition is reluctant reader. The reluctant reader is a students who do not enjoy the act of reading. Reluctant readers fall into a number of categories according to Elizabeth Kennedy. Children who are intelligent and interested in reading but don't read well, children who seem to have no interest and as a result of not reading regularly are falling or at risk of falling behind, and children who are dealing with specific learning problems that impede their ability and willingness to read. Struggling readers also fall into the category of reluctant reader. Through my research, I have found 7 mostly qualitative articles which have been compiled through databases found on Penn State Library's website. My research is divided into 3 main topics: graphic novels for the struggling reader, graphic novels and the reluctant reader, and teacher planning for graphic novels. For their research, Frey and Fisher outlined a program for remedial writing that took place in an urban San Diego high school. Students read Will Eisner's New York, the Big City to improve their writing skills. Through this method, students gained a better understanding of scaffolding writing techniques. They specifically improved their abilities for dialogue, tone, and mood. Research shows that graphic novels are also beneficial for English language learners. In this study, Christian Chung discusses his use of Art Spiegelman's mouse in an urban high school's advanced ESL classroom. He found that benefits of using graphic novels include contextualizing language in a way that leads to a better understanding of how it works, employing a critical multiliteracy approach to learning, engaging students' attention, and activating imagination. Because of the nature of this particular graphic novel, it also resonated with ELL students when discussing their own struggle. Along with struggling readers, there are also a number of benefits for using this medium with reluctant readers. In his article, A Novel Approach, Using Graphic Novels to Attract Reluctant Readers and Promote Literacy, Philip Crawford discusses the use of graphic novels to attract interest in reading. According to Crawford, perhaps the most powerful way of encouraging children to read is by exposing them to light reading, a kind of reading that school pretends do not exist, and a kind of reading that many children, for economic or ideological reasons, are deprived of. I suspect that light reading is the way that nearly all of us learn to read. Graphic novels fall into this category of light reading. Crawford goes on to discuss why graphic novels are an invaluable source for getting students to read with enthusiasm. He states that graphic novels are usually written at somewhere between the 4th and 6th grade reading levels, which is comparable to Time magazine as well as many young adult novels and some adult bestsellers. It is this accessibility that appeals to students. In the next article I reviewed, Schwartz and Crenshaw argue for the use of graphic novels als Bildungsroman, or the coming-of-age story. This approach reaches the reluctant reader because the novels discussed are materials that students are relating to. Many graphic novels have narrators who are adolescents that are going through many of the struggles students are currently facing. This article also mentions the popularity of the medium as a way to reach students. Graphic novels show up consistently in bookstores, television, and films. Many graphic novels, specifically in the superhero genre, are being adapted to film and television. This is a trend that continues to rise in popularity. Along with why graphic novels are useful in the classroom, it is also important to discuss the steps that need to be taken in order to plan for graphic novels. The first step in this process is better teacher education about the medium. In a quantitative study, Williams and Peterson surveyed 677 institutions of higher learning to assess the availability of graphic novels in academic libraries. Institutions were chosen based on National Council accreditations for teacher education and American Library Association accreditation. Novels were chosen based on the Great Graphic Novels for Teens book list. What they found was that most of these libraries held less than 10 titles. Results differ between NCATE and ALA institutions. Libraries that held both accreditations had an average of 10.4 out of 100 graphic novels, and there was a margin of 2.4 between larger and smaller libraries. What these statistics suggest is there needs to be more emphasis on teaching future teachers about this medium that is rising in popularity. For those who are already teaching in the classroom, Paula Griffiths gives us a number of considerations for selecting a graphic novel for your classroom. The 3 features that should be considered are formatting, illustrations, and content. Considerations for format include appropriate text size, pages that are not too busy with illustration and text, and the use of glossary and table of contents to aid understanding. In terms of illustration, the color palette, style of art, and use of positive and negative space should be considered. Illustrations should also give the reader clues about the mood of characters as well as provide context to move the story along. Considerations for content are the same for any work of literature. For fiction novels, you should have 3-dimensional characters, relatable themes, and a satisfactory plot. This means believable climax that is true to the rising action, a satisfying denouncement, and resolution that brings the events of the story to a satisfying end. For nonfiction text, consideration should be made for age-appropriate content, clear organization, and visual aids that help students to comprehend the content. Mary Rice gives us another view of how to plan for graphic novels in the classroom. In her article, Rice discusses her struggle to find appropriate content for her middle school classroom set in an artistic Utah community. Her process includes reading a wide range of graphic novels while also looking into the academic literature that discusses the medium. Rice made several discoveries through this process. In terms of discovering which graphic novels to use in her classroom, she found that the best resources were the people who worked in comic book shops and her own students. She also discovered that finding age-appropriate graphic novels was difficult. This is due to the inappropriate language, excessive violence, and misrepresentation of major literary characters found in many graphic novels. Other issues Rice came across relate to finding funds to purchase the novels and keeping the books in good condition. Once Rice had found appropriate graphic novels, her next step was designing a lesson that would help students to comprehend the content. To begin, she used the graphic novel American-Born Chinese during a summer session of students who were either ELL students or struggling non-ELL. While students were able to understand the content on a basic level, they were not able to dig deeper into the symbolic meaning of the text. In a second attempt at using the medium, she taught The Complete Mouse, a Survivor's Tale, to a group of 9th graders. In this attempt, she spent time teaching her students how to focus on one panel of images and connect them to the others. Through taking the time to help students understand this new format, they were better able to comprehend the material. My research has led me to consider how this medium can be used in my own teaching. As an English teacher, I would use graphic novels during a literature unit. I would begin this unit by instructing students in the correct way to read graphic novels. I think that using a graphic novel adaptation of a novel that is already in the academic canon would be a step in the right direction in terms of engaging students. I would also use graphic novels as a chance to introduce creative assignments. In terms of the ESL classroom, I believe that graphic novels are useful as a more advanced method of teaching reading. The illustrations are a feature that will help students to understand a wider range of texts. I also think graphic novels are a way to introduce artistic assignments into the classroom. In terms of further research, I'd like to look into how graphic novels can be used in younger grades as well as other subjects. I also think that a long-term study of the success of a better teaching education in this medium. I would be interested to discover how this emphasis would affect future teachers. On this slide, I have provided a few topics of discussion. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation and will consider using graphic novels in your own classroom.